But Dr. Let me begin with you. And starting from that point of the conversations going on, the talks that are going on, is it the dialogue? And there has been a bit of contestation coming from the Deputy President and some leaders within Kenya Kwanza saying that they were opposed to these talks, but the President insisted for the peace of the country, but they do not want to see the agenda of auditing the presidential election of 2022. From the start, where do you see these conversations going, and do they stand a chance of helping the country improve the electoral systems?
You know, I think the problem I've always had with these talks is that I think it's a waste of our time, waste of resources, but it also in a way confirms that President William Ruto isn't confident that he actually won the election fairly. Because if he really won the election fairly, and I believe he did, why then is he entertaining a conversation with somebody who lost the election? Because if you look at the way the country is being reduced into, it's about Raila Ruto. This country belongs to 50 million Kenyans, more than 50 million Kenyans. We cannot reduce the conversation about our country to be two individuals. And I think if I was President William Ruto, I will tell this other side of the opposition, if you really have a problem with my leadership, there is a platform in Parliament where you can actually bring a motion of censure or impeachment on my presidency, because Azimio ran away from addressing some of the most fundamental issues. For example, when we were discussing the Finance Bill, Finance Act 2023 now, they walked away. They didn't really debate the bill as is required of them. Instead, they want to take it outside the Parliament to just do politics around it. This will not achieve anything for this country. I think if President William Ruto, KK administration, should be able to implement what they promised Kenyans. And I think now, as we go into 1 year of the anniversary of this government, Kenyans are reminded of those political promises. And one of those things, one of those phrases I remember Kenyans are talking about, and I wish Shole was here to defend the government, is President William Ruto saying that nikieka Biblia chini, this will happen. By due date, this will happen. By due date, this will happen. This hasn't happened. Right now, what we are seeing is more politics. He is back on the campaign trail. You know, he is back on top of those motor vehicles. I think they should be sitting down right now and actually implementing what they call the plan. We are not seeing that. And I think that's the expectation most Kenyans have, that is government actually living up to, President William Ruto living up to what he promised Kenyans. You know, for example, we hear things like cost of living will go down, cost of electricity. Things have gone up. I mean, that's the reality. The hustlers are suffering. You know, this was supposed to be a hustler government, therefore, meaning let's address the issues that actually concern the man and woman down there. This isn't happening, Gituku, and let's not lie to each other. Instead, what I'm seeing is a lot of public relations, PR exercise. You can see even from ministers, PSS, just go to social media. All they do is post, I met so-and-so, I was in this conference, I was in that and that. That doesn't address the problems of Kenyans. Now Kenyans are also questioning, I think I saw it yesterday, that the cost of travels, both local and international. And the question then is, what really is the value of all these international travels? Because one of the things that I recall, Deputy President Gachagua consistently saying that they inherited empty coffers, that there was no money, government was broke. But then how are you broke when you're actually overspending, both in terms of, you know, all these travels we can see, but also enlarging government. It was the same administration that came up with these illegal positions of chief administrative secretaries. In fact, I don't even know, are they in office really?
At the moment, they are not, because, of course, the High Court gave that decision.
Well, that's what we know, that there is a High Court decision. But as to whether they actually occupy space in the ministry or not, it's not clear. And I think the president needs to come out clearly and tell Kenyans, okay, after the High Court decision, I abandoned the idea of chief administrative secretaries. That was expanding government. You have positions like prime cabinet secretary, they are alien to the Constitution of Kenya. The Article 130 of the Constitution of Kenya defines a cabinet to comprise of the president, deputy president, and cabinet secretaries.
Would that inform the decision, I mean, the idea now that is part of the agenda of talks to entrench it into the Constitution, and what would that require?
So I mean, it's good you asked that question. So, for example, if you look at some of these, the agenda of these talks, they're trying to justify an illegality. For example, of the position of prime cabinet secretary. Just because an individual has already been appointed into that position, unconstitutionally and illegally, so now we are making it part of our national agenda. Why are we personalizing, the governance of this country? And by the way, I think President William Ruto needs to be reminded that power is transient. Look at the way people are treating President Uhuru Kenyatta today. For 10 years he was all-powerful president. But today, nobody gives a damn about him. I mean, people, is even worried about him. So I think President William Ruto needs to learn from...
Okay. Before I hear from Bomas, so you said that the position of Prime Cabinet Secretary is unconstitutional and illegal.
Yeah.
Can you say that, or the court has to pronounce itself on that?
No, I don't need court to pronounce that. I just need to read Article 130 of the Constitution of Kenya. What is a cabinet? And then, over and above that, Tuku, that position is not there in the Constitution, and I wish, I'll look for let me try and see whether I can get a copy of the Constitution, but it's clear. I mean, okay. I don't even need to think about it. And then over and above that, there is this co-option of some strangers into the cabinet. It goes against executive, history. That, in cabinet, there are secrets that are being discussed, government discussed. So if you bring in people who are not part of the government, into those meetings, you're actually violating the Constitution. And the paradox of it is that a president is sworn in to protect and uphold the Constitution. But we have seen a violation of that Constitution happening almost immediately by appointing people who are not within the Constitution, by co-opting people who are not part of the cabinet into the Constitution. So I think, for me, these talks are trying to... Actually, these talks is BBI too. I know William Ruto was opposed to BBI, or was reluctant to openly come out to support BBI.
Right.
But what we are seeing at Bomas is actually BBI to reintegrate.
Okay. Okay.